Hello everyone, my name is Laura and I'm here with you today to show you the process that I use to create my goat milk and oatmeal soap. So please stick with me. I'm going to show you step by step what I did, and at the end of the video I am going to unmold this and cut it so that we can see how it turned out.
So the first thing I did was add my butters. I only had one butter for this one. This was shea butter. I then added olive oil, castor oil, coconut oil, and sweet almond oil. And then it was just on a very low heat, melting the oils and butters together. Next, I got my measuring cup with my scale and weighed out my goat milk cubes that I had created. Now I had to make sure I got the right amount. So you see here, I was just breaking a cube to make sure I had an accurate measurement. Next, I laid out my cardboard. I always put something that is protection on the counter as I deal with lye. And as you see, I also put on my gloves because if you do not know about lye safety, it is very important that you do. Make sure that you are well protected. I usually have long sleeves. You'll see I'll put some on in a little bit. I'll put on my hoodie. And then I measured out my lye. Next is actually putting the lye into the milk cubes. Now you'll see that I am adding it little by little. This is definitely something you want to do slowly so that you do not scorch the milk. And the reason that I have cubes in the first place, if you're unfamiliar with making soaps that include milk, is because the lye does heat up the liquid. For things such as milk, it is a high probability of it getting scorched and having a burned scent to the soap. So definitely did not want that. And so you'll see me adding it little by little, taking my time with this, stirring it in as I go. And that's what I continue to do. I just add a little more, and continue mixing. Now, one thing I do want to make a quick note of here is if you are unfamiliar to the soap making process and working with lye, it does let off fumes when you are working with it. So please make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. This recipe, by the way, is not for beginners. It is a little bit more advanced to work with milk. So at this point, I take the temperature of my lye solution. I give my butters and oils a stir since they've been sitting for just a little bit as I made the lye solution. And now I am ready to pour my lye solution into my oils and butters. And as you see, I pour it through a fine mesh strainer. I want to make sure that it catches any pieces of lye that might not have fully dissolved, since the lye did not heat up as much as it does in other recipes. And I use my stick blender to start mixing the lye solution along with the oils and butters. So I give it a stir first, just manually with the stick blender. And then I turn on the blender, and you'll see that I keep it on just for a short period of time. I blend for about 5 to 10 seconds and then stir again with it off. I do this until it reaches a light to medium trace. Then I add the colloidal oats. After that, it is blending some more with a stick blender. I really want to make sure that those colloidal oats are dispersed evenly throughout the soap batter. And with that, it is time to pour. So I have my soap mold already prepared. And at this point, the trace is about a medium trace, but it's still really loose. Perfect for if I needed more time to work with it. But this is a simple recipe, so the main idea is just to make sure I'm pouring, tap, tap, tap to get any air bubbles out. And then I pour the remainder and do the same thing again. Make sure I tap it on the counter to get any bubbles out that may remain in that soap batter. And then comes one of my favorite parts, which is just kind of putting finishing touches on the soap, putting a little design. Oftentimes I do it with a spoon. Sometimes I use a skewer, depending on if there is more than one color I'm working with. If there is anything I want to put on the top for a little added interest, I would do that. This one is a very simple soap. I didn't add any scent. I want it to just simply be nourishing, beautiful in its simplicity. And so that's what I was going for. And as you see, I just was having a little fun with it because it also was pretty loose. So I was trying to let it thicken up a little bit so I could put some type of design on the top. And this is what I was left with.
All right, hey you all, it is late, and by late I mean it is 2:54 in the morning, so I need to be quiet in this house. But I wanted to tell you all about what happened to my soap. I'm gonna show it to you. So I poured it around 11 at night and came back to check on it. It was fine, and then around 1 o'clock, I'm still sitting up when I should be getting in bed, but I'm glad I checked because my soap started overheating. And so here, I'm gonna show you all. So this is what it looks like. I put it in the freezer right away once I realized it. For milk soaps, you have to make sure that it stays cool afterwards. And I had no reason for this one to gel, so I should have just immediately put it in the refrigerator or freezer, but I did not. So you can see it still has an odd coloring to it, but at this point it's been in the freezer for an hour to 2 hours. My main concern would just be with the smell, because of course I don't want the soap smelling like squished milk. So we'll just have to see how it turns out.
So here we go. We are going to unmold this bar of soap. First, I put on my gloves to prevent the raw soap from getting on my hands. Then I take the soap out of the silicone mold. As you can see, there is a little bit of moist soap that is remaining in the corners of the mold, but the remainder of it seems nice and solid. And now it's time to cut. As I cut, I noticed that the bars actually have a pretty even tone throughout, so that is a plus. So I go ahead and cut the remainder of the bars. They actually were in great shape for cutting since this was the third day that it had been in the mold. The bars then go in a rack so they can cure for 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, now that that is done, I wanted to talk with you all about 3 things. Number 1, what went well. Number 2, what didn't go quite as expected / did not go well. And number 3, what I learned. So the first thing is what went well. I like the way it came out ultimately. So overall, the soap is a nice even tone throughout. Even if it didn't have an even tone, the soap would be perfectly fine. But aesthetically, I like the way it looks. in most of the soap. So that leads me to what did not go well, / what did not go quite as expected. And that is that the ends are a little soft, only the bottom corners. It's really weird. But I believe that's because, at least in part, it did not finish going through the gel process. It still has Saponified, so it's still soap. It just was a little, still not so hard in the corners. And of course, the main thing that did not go well was the fact that my soap overheated. And I'm glad that I caught it when I did, at least. If I wouldn't have caught it when I did, what would have happened is it would have gotten bigger and bigger, and then it would have split on the top. I have had that happen to a couple of batches of soaps before. Then I end up with soap with a crack on the top, which again, does not negatively impact how well the soap works. However, aesthetically, we just like to avoid it if we can. Then that leads me to what I learned from this. It was a nice reminder. Remember, for milk soaps, just to be cautious, go ahead and put it into the freezer or the refrigerator to keep it from overheating. Because of the fact that soaping is a chemical process, you have to be very careful about the temperature as it continues changing. After I pour it into the mold, it still is undergoing a chemical change. So I just need to make sure that I am monitoring that a lot more closely next time, preventing the overheating by putting it into the refrigerator or freezer. It doesn't have much of a scent, which is great, because my main concern was that with it overheating, that it would have a scorched smell to it, but it doesn't. Just smells like soap. If you know what an unscented soap smells like. I did not say this at the intro of the video, but part of the reason why I make this soap is because 2 of my 3 children have mild cases of eczema. And so I really like to have something that's nice and soothing to their skin without any harsh detergents, without any artificial fragrances, just simply pure nourishing soap. I'm so glad that you all stuck around and watched as I showed you the process that I used to make this soap, and I hope that you got something from it. If you learn from content like this, or you're just entertained by it, like I am, I like watching other soapers and see what they are doing. Please like this video and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and until the next time, goodbye.
Don't tell them that I'm here. Don't tell them that I'm here.
Okay. Are you ready? Come on, let's go.
No!
Okay, what do you want me to do? Just act like you're not there?
Yeah, and don't tell them that I'm not here. No!
Layla, I have it on so that I can go ahead and do the review. Okay, what do you want me to do?
Oh.
Okay, so I'm here all by myself to look at the soap. Oh, all right. So, Layla, I just finished the soap for you and Matthew. How do you think it looks? Does it look okay? Okay, and how does it smell? Like, does it smell like anything? Don't touch your nose on it. No, can't really smell anything? No? All right. Okay. Doesn't smell like anything, does it? Doesn't really smell. It smells like soap, maybe. All right.
It smells like cinnamon.
Cinnamon? I think it smells like cinnamon. All right, so the soap is done.
It smells like
All right.
almond.
Are you looking forward to being able to use it once it's ready? All right. Okay, so Layla, we have about 4 or 5-ish weeks until you can use it, okay? What would you like to say to everyone who is watching this video? Please
Subscribe.
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 All right. All right.
Subscribe. Subscribe.
Subscribe. I like it.